Welcome back for week 3. Hopefully now that you've got a better understanding of what nouns and prepositions and prepositional phrases are, it's helping you understand what a properly formatted sentence should look like and how you can communicate your messages with those sentences more effectively. This time we're going to talk about making sure that your sentences are completed properly, not just in terms of nouns and prepositions, but all together, so that you've got a complete thought expressed in each sentence you write. So with that in mind, our topic for this week is sentence fragments. Now I'm going to walk you through quite a bit of material this week, because sentence fragments can really be devastating to a good piece of writing. You might have wonderful ideas and things to say, but if you are communicating them in fragmented thoughts and sentences, your reader's not going to understand what you're saying, and it's going to be frustrating for everyone involved. So this week I would particularly stress as a very important one for you to make sure you grasp, because this is really going to impact the effectiveness of your writing outside the classroom. So let me move the computer a little closer for you so you can read this easier. Hopefully that makes it a little easier for you. And let's take a look at what sentence fragments are. So here you can see I've got, what is it? Well, a sentence fragment is an incomplete sentence that's being used incorrectly as a complete sentence. So in essence, it's just a person assuming that they've got a complete thought expressed, but they really don't. So a sentence fragment is typically incomplete because it is missing its subject, its verb, an object, or another important part of the sentence, which causes it to be incomplete. Now, here, I'm going to get my face in here for a second. I know we haven't spent any time talking about verbs or objects or even subjects right now, but I'll explain those in basic form today so that you can understand them as I speak about them. So let's talk first about what fragments look like before we get into subjects and objects and all that. Okay, so what do they look like? Well, first it says, when a sentence is missing its subject, you can see that the action in the fragment has no one or nothing to perform the action. And that right there pretty well explains the problem with sentence fragments that are missing their subject. A subject in a sentence is basically just the thing that's doing something in a sentence. If I say, I kicked a can down the street, I am the one doing the kicking. Therefore, I am the subject in the sentence. I could say, you are watching this video right now. In that case, the word you, referring to you, viewer, is the one who is doing something in a sentence. You are viewing. Therefore, you are the subject in a sentence. So anytime you've got a word that is the thing performing the action, that is the subject of the sentence. Okay? So right here, I've got an example of a fragment that is fragmented because it's missing its subject. And the example says, trying very hard. Yikes. That's a fragment. And notice that it's because it's missing its subject. You're probably asking yourself, who's trying hard? What's trying hard? That's a good question. If you write a sentence like that, your reader's going to be wondering the same thing. So right here, this is a sentence fragment because it's missing its subject. We need to know who is trying hard, whether it's Bill or Steve or Ann or Mary or whoever. So right here, I'm going to scroll down just a fuzz. And we can see now I've got an example of a sentence that's complete next to a sentence that's a fragment. So here, Edward is a strong student. Can you see the subject in that sentence? Hopefully, you can see that it's Edward. Edward is the one doing something. Even though he's not physically performing an action that's dramatic like kicking or running or jumping, just the fact that he is existing is a verb. So Edward is the subject in our sentence. So we've got a subject in that sentence, we've got a verb, we know some information about him. However, we've got this next sentence that says trying very hard still, yuck, still missing its subject. We need to fix that. So in this case, why don't we just combine those sentences and turn them into one? Let Edward do the work for both of them. So here we have, Edward is a strong student who is known for trying very hard. Boom. Now Edward can be the subject in that sentence. We no longer have a fragment. That's excellent. That's exactly what you want to go for. Okay, so that's an example of a fragment that is missing its subject. Now, what if it's missing its verb? At this point, I'm going to spend just a little bit of time talking about verbs to you. Now, I said a subject is the word in a sentence that's performing an action, and that's true. A verb is the action that that subject performs in a sentence. So if I say, I kicked the can down the street, I am the one who's doing the kicking, so I'm the subject, and kicking is the action I'm performing, so kicked is my verb. If you've got a sentence that's missing the verb, it is going to be a fragment. So right here, I've got, in other cases, a sentence may be missing its verb. In these cases, the subject is present in the sentence, but it does not have an action to perform. So right here, an example might be the Lincoln University basketball team. What about them? Surely they have something to do, right? So right there you can see this is a sentence fragment because it is missing its verb. We need to know something about them. What are they doing? So here's a complete sentence. This one's better. Instead of just saying the Lincoln University basketball team, now we have the Lincoln University basketball team trounced the opposing team. See the verb? Well, I guess I kind of made it easy for you, didn't I? Put that arrow right there. Trounced is the verb. So here we've got our subject, and we've got a verb, and we've got, which I'll explain a little later, an object. So right here we've got a nice complete sentence. It's not missing its subject or verb or even an object. So looking good there. Okay. Now here's another way that you can create a sentence fragment. This is something you want to avoid. Not all sentences contain subjects or even need them. But if a sentence requires an object and it doesn't contain one, then that sentence is going to be a fragment. So at this point I'm going to explain a little bit about objects. An object in a sentence is the thing that receives the action. Alright, so if I have a sentence that says, I gave $5 to Jackie. In that sentence, I am the one doing something. I'm performing an action, so I'm the subject. I said I gave. Gave is what I'm doing. That's my verb. So I gave, and then I'm saying I gave that money. Who did I give it to? Jackie. So in this instance, my object needs to be present in that sentence for this sentence to be complete. So I'm going to provide you with a simple example right here. It says, William threw the ball to. You're probably wondering, well, who did they throw the ball to? And I know that might sound ridiculous when you hear that. You're saying, okay, obviously they need to throw it to someone. Who did they throw it to? I see people make this mistake all the time in their writing. And the reason, I think, is because people know what it is up here that they want to say, but once they get it on paper, they don't complete their thoughts. You need to read your sentences out loud as you proofread to make sure that you're communicating what you're trying to say. Otherwise, you're going to confuse your reader, just as badly as this might be confusing to you. So here we got William threw the ball to. To who? We know we got a subject, William, we've got a verb, threw, but who did the ball go to? Well, let's fix that example. William threw the ball to Sherry. There. Now we've got an object in the sentence, and that's looking a lot better. So if you can just avoid those mistakes, you can fix most of your sentence fragment errors. You're not going to have those problems anymore. So keep in mind, this is an especially important concept to master if you want to be successful.